Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of AB Let's Talk. I'm John,
Hi guys, I'm Del.
and with Stand Up to Bullying Day approaching on the 13th of June, we're just going to talk today about different ways that you can tackle bullying, such as peer-to-peer support, but mainly we want to look at creativity and ways to creatively tackle bullying. So we've got some very special guests with us. Welcome, guys, Bars and Melody.
Hey. Thanks for the claps, everyone. Cheers.
So, can you just tell us how you got involved with the Diana Award and the anti-bullying team?
So obviously the song that we did as an original audition was an anti-bullying song, and we I can't remember exactly. It was a long time ago now. It was a few years ago, maybe like 3-4 years ago. 4 years ago it would have been. I'm not sure if we got in contact with Anti-Bullying Pro or they got in contact with us, but obviously we was really keen to work alongside them because it was obviously the message behind like our movement. So we kind of just started doing little bits, and then obviously as time went on, we got more and more involved. So.
Brilliant. And you joined us last year at Anti-Bullying Week.
Yes.
And you ran some workshops with us. What were they about?
It was just all about using music to express your, well, not just music, but like writing, poems, to just express how you're feeling and use that as a way of dealing with things. Yeah.
And how do you guys kind of find the courage to do that? Because obviously it's really difficult when you've been through something, but like sharing it with other people is a whole different story.
That's
so.
probably like the hardest part, like sharing it, and you can, if it's inside you and like all these emotions building up and you write them down. I feel like the hardest part about that is sharing it, but that's probably the most important part, because without telling somebody how you're feeling, it does, there's no way they can help you because they don't know. So it's the first step is writing it down, through music is one avenue. The way we do it is we write down our emotions and we share it with the world. But the first step is writing it down, and the second part is sharing it with the world, which can be really challenging. And it was for me and Charlie when we first stepped on Britain's Got Talent, but now it's become a lot easier because there's people out there who we know we're helping, and you never know, your story one day could help somebody else.
And have your messages changed over time with different personal experiences and things like that?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily changed. I think we've just added to what we can speak about. Obviously, the older we get, the more we learn, the more mistakes we make, the more good things happen, and you kind of start to adapt your message to more than one scenario. Obviously, like when we was on BGT, our message was heavily about bullying and physical bullying and stuff like that. But whereas it's it's also to do with like how you're feeling, like things like depression and stuff. Like we try and help with stuff like that as well as bullying. Not all depression comes from bullying. I know it's a big factor, but depression can come from anything. I feel like everyone goes through a state of depression in their life, and it's how you deal with it which makes you stronger or weaker. Obviously, you want people to come out of it stronger. So I feel like using that as in to put it across to people that everyone goes through it, like you're not alone. So I think our message does branch over more than one subject. Even things like love and stuff like that. Like it can cause things like depression and stuff like that. So I think it's just everything has a reason and everything has a meaning, and we just try and make everything try and appeal to everyone, I guess.
And recently it was Mental Health Awareness Week as well, and one of the messages was talking about encouraging people to be more open. Why do you think it's a good thing for people to be more open about their experiences and share with others?
I feel like a lot of people lack understanding about mental illness, and sometimes they could say they don't know what is necessarily wrong with someone, they don't understand the symptoms or whatever when it comes to mental health. Like sometimes their understanding of it is weird or different, and being different isn't always a bad thing. But if people lack the understanding about mental illness, like they're gonna label it as weird, and a lot of people can be upset with that. But you have to embrace your differences, and as long as it's out there in the world and people understand and more people begin to learn about mental illness, I feel like we're slowly but surely making the world a better place. And it's okay to be different. I mean, I wasn't the most normal child in school, and nor was Charlie when I met. But yeah,
cheers, bro.
No, but it's just embracing those differences and really bringing out your character through them.
Brilliant. How do you guys feel about sharing your experiences? Positive? Have you enjoyed it? Do you think it's helped people?
I think it's it's one of those, like, music helps you do that because you can say stuff in lyrics and songs that you can't really say out loud and like in words. I know that sounds stupid, but one thing I've noticed is like there's things I've talked about in songs that I wouldn't really talk about to someone in a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the beauty of like the creative industry. You know, it's like there's a lot of artists that, you know, like paint things and they paint stuff and like the meaning behind the painting you'd never expect it to be that. It's only because they've explained it and you I think it's just like beautiful how like different arts can like be used as ways of telling things. And I think that was like one of the main reasons why, you know, I wanted to do music and like the passion within music stays with you is because like, you know, if you go through a hard time, you know, I know when I'm going through the hard time, the first thing my manager wants to do is chuck me in the studio because that's when everything comes out, you know. I know there is ways of expressing like your good feelings and stuff, but obviously you tend to express yourself more when you're going through bad stuff, and I think that's only natural. But I think it's definitely beautiful how, you know, like especially as artists, you can listen to people's songs and like hear their pain in their songs, even though they wouldn't sit in an interview and tell that story, you know.
And when you guys doing this anti-bullying week and when you run your workshops, it's kind of that message, isn't it? So would you really encourage young people out there to try and seek help through creativity?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a lot of kids at the week that had obviously, you know, gone through some hard times, and we tried speaking to them and getting them to open up, and they wouldn't really say anything, and we'd leave them for 5-10 minutes, and we'd go back, and they would write this piece of you know, poetry or music, and they would be like telling their story. And it's like they're opening up, and it was like, wow, like, you know, you'd never think they was going through that because they wouldn't talk to you about it, but once they put it on paper, they felt a relief from it. You know.
Super awesome. So obviously we're normally in the office. As you can tell, we're not today. We're actually at a recording studio because you guys have been here for the week, recording some new material. So what are you guys up to for the year? I'm sure you've got some exciting stuff planned.
Yeah, very busy year for us. We're in the middle of recording, well, I wouldn't say in the middle, we're pretty far through. We're recording the new album at the moment. We've spent probably the past 2 months just grinding to make sure, you know, we make the best album possible.
Yeah, and it's like it is like a quite an emotional experience, you know, because you're really like in touch with your feelings, and you know we're in a band, so like I know how Charlie's feeling, he knows how I'm feeling, and you know we make songs that we really think could help people going through similar situations, and even if it's not a similar situation, it's, you know, I feel like it's our like duty to make it so we can help people going through numerous amount of problems or, you know, good parts of their life. You know, music can help you and help you have a better time, you know, when you're feeling good. So I feel like we've really been working hard on focusing on making the best music possible.
If you could like summarize one message of empowerment from the stuff that you've recorded like this year, what would it be?
Just really accepting who you are, I would say, and not be afraid to show other people that side of you. You know, when you meet someone for the first time, they're not the person that they could not be the same person, you know, 3 months into knowing them. And I feel like it's finding that trust in someone and showing them who you really are is the most important thing, especially for friendship and love.
I think, yeah, it's definitely one of those things. It's like just showing that like kind of everyone goes through stuff, you know. It's like I've not had a great time the past 6 months to a year, and I feel like I've really expressed that in this album. And it's like people don't realize that's going on because like when you're like an influencer and an artist, like you've always got to be happy, you know, you've always got to be like live on Instagrams and smiling in photos and smiling when you're meeting fans and stuff, but like you can't, you know, you can't let what your problems like drag into, you know, them, you know. Whereas like, you know, I think people look at us and see what we're doing and it's like everything's fun, everything's great, everything's happy, but it's not. Like everyone goes through stuff, you know. And I feel like me personally, I know Leo has as well, but me personally, I've expressed a lot of my pain and like what I've been going through this album, which I never would have said in an interview, you know. So that's why I'm also really excited for the album to be released, because I know a lot of the fans of Well have been wondering what's going on with me, because I've been off social media every now and again and stuff, taking my time to myself, and I feel like when they hear this, they're going to understand everything. So
you feel better.
Yeah, it's a stress relief. Like you say, you relieve yourself through the music. You know, the only people I really talk to is Leo, my manager, people like that about my personal problems, because they're the people that help me through them. But if I'm going through something, I can't just like put it on Instagram, because it's not how things work. But this album's definitely done that for me. Yeah.
That's super
Brilliant. Yeah, we're looking
exciting.
forward to
We're gonna
it.
look. I'm probably gonna cry. Sit at home and cry whilst I listen, but hopefully it will make me feel better and more open for it. So Pip, I know that like we've probably got loads of people
Very
who want to
excited
ask
people.
Charlie and Leo loads of questions. So we're gonna hand over to you and we'll let you guys do your thing.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of love coming through on our comments right now. Elsa's saying, I love how you channel emotion through something creative. I think whilst talking is important, different things help different people, and sometimes people miss that. So people really appreciating taking like the creative side of things. We've also got some questions from our Instagram posts earlier today. So B. Lilla has asked, what's the best way to tell your parents that someone is bullying you and that you need help, but you're also too scared to talk about it?
I just think it's overcoming the fear of the initial telling somebody is the hardest part, and I think you have to be ready for it, because obviously your parents aren't going to be happy about someone picking on you, and like I think once you tell them, they are going to do something about it. And I just think it's not being afraid or embarrassed of that. I think you just have to realize at the end it's all going to be okay, even though it can be like rough when you're going through the entire process, and it has been if you're getting picked on. But I think once you get to the end and everything's sorted out, it could just be a giant misunderstanding, or it could be a genuine, just someone who's going through their own problems and they're taking it out on you. So I think the most important thing is make sure you tell somebody, but just know like what it could bring. And just I'd be excited, because once it's over, you could develop a relationship with that person, because you don't know what they're going through. You could be going through similar things, and if you just talk it out, or maybe even confront them if you're brave enough, and you never know what the future could bring.
Definitely. And Emira Farhan has asked, when you experience bullying, what can you do to make your self-esteem better? So how can you get your self-confidence back?
I think it's just self-appreciation is a big thing. I mean, a lot of people don't appreciate themselves and what they do, and it's like, I know, like sometimes I take the mick a little bit, and like for instance when I'm recording and I do a good take, like I'll big myself up, and I know it seems like everyone finds it funny because it looks like I'm like being like, oh look at me, but like actually what I'm doing is I'm giving myself a confidence boost, because like although people can compliment you as much as possible, nothing feels better than you being able to compliment yourself. So I definitely think like, and even though it's like I get a lot of things of people saying like, Charlie uses too much auto-tune and stuff like this, and it's like, it's true, 99% of musicians use auto-tune in their songs. It's not used to make people sound better, it's used as an effect. And I know I can sing without auto-tune, It's used, that's how it is. But so when I sing in the studio, the one thing I do is I listen back to my takes before they're edited, and I'm like, yeah, like I sound good. And I think it's not being about yourself. I think it's being like confident in yourself and knowing your worth. And I feel like everyone has that, everyone should be able to look at themselves and find good things about themselves. And that should boost your self-esteem, is by, if someone says something about you, you can go, well, actually, no, I'm good at that. Like, and I know that, so why does it matter what anyone else thinks,
And then Mitch Axon has asked, what would be your best advice for the person who is the bully? Because sometimes bullies need help themselves.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes, you may not even realize you're making someone feel the way they do. So just, I think, try and be aware. Even if you don't think you're bullying anyone right now, I just think even when you go to school, even if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, just be aware of everyone around you, and just maybe have a look and just, just like review what you're saying to people, and if it could, make someone feel a type of way that maybe you didn't intend, then I think you should just be aware. And if there is something you feel you're doing wrong, maybe apologize to the person who you're making feel this way, or change your ways, and instead of saying the harmful things to people, change it around and maybe compliment them, smile, talk to them, and get to know them.
Let's see. Any more, Pip?
Yeah, so we've got a couple more here. So Just Me 9134 has asked, what can you do if you have suffered from bullying in the past and then it's coming back to haunt you? How can you run from the past forever?
I think it's just realizing what went wrong last time and working on that. I think, I'm obviously I'm taking this into a different context, but it's like learn from mistakes. It's like last time maybe the bullying lasted so long because you didn't tell someone or you didn't have the confidence. Learn from that and be like, right, last time everything got better when I did this, so do that again. Don't be scared to do that again. It's learning from the past. If whatever stopped the bullying last time, make sure you do that now rather than later when it's either too late or like last time it was a long period of time. I know if I did something wrong, as in like I didn't help myself, I would want to then help myself again, and I'd know how to help myself. So let's say last time you was being bullied and you didn't tell your parents for 6 months, and now it's happening again. Tell them now, because that's what's going to make things change. I think it's just having the courage of being like, right, I've dealt with this once, I can do it again, and this time it would be easier because I know better from last time.
Fantastic answer.
Cool, and I think we'll just wrap up with one more question. And so Emma Ralph has asked, how can you support a friend who has been struggling and experiencing bullying themselves? So how can you help them out?
I think you should, ask them and say like, if you can see it happening and maybe she hasn't told you, you should sit down and ask her how she's feeling, because obviously it's your friend and you want to help them as much as possible. So sit down, ask them how they're feeling, and maybe you should try and urge them to tell somebody. And I think if they're really uncomfortable with you telling someone for them, it would be, I probably wouldn't advise you, but if you think it's getting to a level where you have to report it, then do it. But I think you should just always be there for them, because when you're going through things like that, you feel so alone and like you've got nobody to turn to. Just be that person for them, be the person that they can turn to, and always be there to support them. And if they feel like they're ready to tell a teacher or their parents, just be there behind them 100% of the way. And sometimes in certain situations you could even tell anyone for them, like say they want to tell the teachers but they didn't have the courage to themselves. You could be that representative for them to go to the teachers and be like, my friend's getting picked on and I really want to help her out. So just always be there for them and give them like continuous support.
Ah,
Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Well, we know we had loads of questions and we're really sorry that we couldn't go through them all, but at the end of our live stream we'll be posting signposts to loads of different support networks, so make sure you check them out at the end. Whether you're dealing with emotional problems or it's physical bullying, we'll put up loads of cool people who can help you out. And we'll also be picking some questions from that post to receive some signed t-shirts. We'll get John to hold one out. There we go. So we have been lucky enough to be sponsored by Wonder, who did a wonderful film dealing with bullying and difference, and lots of things that we spoke about today. I know Leo is really excited because he loves Julia Roberts and she's in it. So if you haven't seen the film, go see it. It's got a super inspiring message, and we'll be sending you a signed t-shirt to the winners of that challenge.
Brilliant. Should we do some shout outs?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we have Jaden White from the Lancaster Academy, who was trained on the 26th of April. He's been the sole anti-bullying person for a school of 900 people for 12 months, so that's quite
super
impressive.
Awesome.
Lawrence from Cambridge, who's incredibly passionate about anti-bullying. He came to the training all by himself, and just everyone there was really impressed by him, particularly Zurich.
Cool. So round of applause for them.
Yeah. Well done, guys. Keep up the good work.
Got more of a clap than we did. There you go.
So we're probably going to wrap up now, but we just want to remind you all that on the 13th of June, it's Stand Up to Bullying Day. And that's our national campaign day where we ask everybody to come together and just demonstrate how they stand up to bullying, whether it's like these guys with writing music and being creative, or whether it's like Jaden, who's an anti-bullying ambassador and supports people in his school. There's so many different ways you can stand up to bullying, and we want to encourage people to share that. So make sure you head to our website. You can buy one of our cool Stand Up to Bullying Day t-shirts. There's loads of stuff you can do, and we'll put that on our story at the end too.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
good.
It's been super cool.
Should we see if we can get your best round of applause this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.